Once again, welcome to the Unlock Academy DEV202 session, Antoine.Digital. Hope you guys are having a great day. Today, we're going to talk about more conditional statements. Conditional statements so far, what we learned is like if and else, and we've combined those with some other things we learned as well. So I want to go in and start talking about a new one, but first let's just make sure we're sure, because when I use that word conditional, I want to make sure you guys understand what that means. So conditional statements are used to perform different actions based on different conditions. So that's just like the whole, we test a condition, meaning it's something true or false, right? It's something true or something false. And if it's true, we do one thing. If it's false, we do something else. We also can check to see if more than one thing is true or if more than one thing is false, using like the and operators or the or operators. Okay, so let me see. So far, we talked about like the if. We use the if to specify a block of code to be executed if specified condition is true. If the specified condition is true. All right. Else is we'll perform this if the specified condition is false. Right. You guys know this. The else if, I know, caught a couple people up. This is like the follow up to an if statement. You test one if that statement is not true, or if that condition is not true, you move on to the else if, right? And you can go on and on and on with the else if. So it just means like, if the first one isn't true, try this. If that one isn't true, try this. So you can keep on going. Then finally you'll end with the else, just as like the final default. So I think you guys got that down pat. If not, you can let me know. The one I want to talk about today, and I want to get into this because it's going to be important to what we're going to talk about in the upcoming lessons, is something called the switch. The switch statement it's just a way to like check for a few predefined things, something that you know is possibly going to be, and based on what those things can be, you do some kind of code. So I'm going to give you an example. Probably can show you better than I can tell you. So this is the if, yada, yada, yada. Let me see. We probably just could skip to the next lesson. Cool. So remember, this is called a condition. Anything in between these parentheses is a condition. If that condition is true, you do what's inside of these brackets. Okay. Okay. And then finally, you always want to end off with an else. So this is an if, this is an else if, this is an else statement. Else does not have any condition tied to it. All right. So now let's talk about switch statements. Okay, so the switch statement is used to perform different actions based on different conditions. So different actions, that means the actions are different bits of code. So different blocks of code based on what the condition is. Okay, so here's the basic syntax. Here's how it's usually structured. So you have a switch. The switch is a keyword that's built into JavaScript, right? It's built into JavaScript. I'll zoom in a little bit more. And then inside of it, you put some type of expression. So we're going to talk about what those possible expressions could be. So then you have these different cases. So switch, I really do wonder why they use the word switch, but I think it's every time in my head, I just think like switch to the next case, switch to the next case. So you check to see if this one is true first, check to see if it's that, check to see if it's this. So this X is literally checking to see if expression is equal to X. So let's go through it. If it turns out to be true, we do some code. You can put as much code as you want here, but the last thing you want to do is make sure you add a break statement. This break is another built-in keyword, right? And what break means is stop executing this block of code, this switch statement, break out of this switch statement. We're done with it, okay? So this is once again for if you know it's going to be like a couple predefined cases. It's not a loop, right? The switch expression is evaluated once. So you only do it one time. It goes through one time. The value of the expression is compared to the value of each case. So the value of the expression And we're going to show you what the expression can be. We talked about that earlier. Remember, this is just jargon. So if you guys took notes on what an expression is, this would make sense. But an expression can be pretty much any kind of statement, like on the right-hand side of the equal sign. So here's an example. The get day method returns weekday as a number between 0 and 6. Sunday equals 0, Monday equals 1, Tuesday equals 2. This example uses the weekday number to calculate the weekday name. So this is kind of what we did earlier on when we had an example where we were trying to get the season, we were trying to get the month. I think we were trying to get the day of the week as well. So in this same example, this is a similar example. They do it with a switch statement instead. So they put the expression right inside of the parentheses. And so they say new date dot get day. And what I'm going to do is I want to run this because I'm going to show you just in case. Sometimes we want to break these things up. Yeah, I don't like that they don't break them up sometimes, which can be confusing to you guys because you're like, oh, what the heck is going on? So we could do this right here. We could say var the current day equals, we want it to be equal to this expression right here. So I'm just going to cut that out, put it right here, and then I'm going to put the current day here instead. Okay, so the current day equals new date. So this is going to generate a whole new date. Remember, we talked about the date object, and then it's going to get the day. All right, so get the date object, and the date object has a method called get day. And remember, this is called chaining. And the reason why it's called that is just because you call one object or one function, and then you call another one right after it. So you get this object, and this object called date has a function called get day. So you get the day from this date that you just created. So get the day. Okay, remember the day just returns a number. The day returns a number. I'll put a comment. Get day returns a number between 0 and 6. Remember, it's index based. So 0 is Sunday, 1 is Monday, 2 is Tuesday, all the way up to 6 is Saturday. Okay, so case 0. So first thing it's going to do is it's going to come here. JavaScript is going to come to this line, the current day. Case. So the way I read this in my mind, I've been doing this since I really understood what switch statements was. The way I read this is instead of just saying case 0, I say in my head, I say in case. Like in case is 0. You know how you say something to somebody like leave the light on in case I come home late, or take the chicken out the freezer in case I cook tonight, in case I want to cook tonight, something like that. So that's how I think of it in my head. In cases 0, do this. In cases 1, do this. All right. So these are just different cases, different ways, different options, just in case. So let me know. I just said just in case. Wow, now that word is going to sound weird all day. So I want to look up the definition of a case while we're here. So I'll just use it in a whole other way. So an instance of a particular situation, an example of something occurring. An instance of a particular situation. I don't really like that in this regard. Okay, cool. So the current day case 0. So if the case is 0, we're going to say that the day is equal to Sunday. So this is how we're converting from 0 to Sunday, right? If this is true, we break. We just break. And what it's going to do is it's going to skip over and go to whatever is after this bracket, right? If this is false, then it's going to go down here. So this is very similar to an if-else statement, right? This is kind of saying if the current day equals 0. Now, if you notice, look at the difference in its code already. So this was literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 6 characters, right? So this is way shorter than doing if statement, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 22 characters here, not even counting the brackets. And then you have to close the bracket. You know what I'm saying? So the switch statement kind of condenses things for you. I'm not saying that this is you always use a case statement. Sometimes if makes more sense, but there are situations where it makes more sense to do a switch statement. It's kind of shorter, right? So if this is true, if this case is true, we make day equal to Sunday. If it's equal to 1, then now you make day equal to Monday. If it's equal to 2, make day equal to Tuesday. If equal to 3, day is equal to Wednesday. Okay. So far and so on. As soon as you find the one that it is, which in this case is Tuesday, right? It's going to come down here. This statement is going to be true. So then it's going to say day is equal to Tuesday, right? And then it's going to break. So once it breaks, it comes down here and you do new line, you come down here, you start working from this angle. So let me make sure I go out here. And now we get document.get element by ID demo once again. Inner HTML. So make the inner HTML of this element called demo equal to today is, and then you pass through whatever the day is. The day we found out based on this switch statement. And of course, today is Tuesday. So that's how we get this over here. Okay. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Okay, cool. So we'll be watching the replay. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's really it's really not hard at all, honestly. In the sense of it's not gonna get more difficult. It's not gonna get more difficult. So one thing we didn't talk about in this example right here is there's no default case, right? There's no default. So let's say for some reason I didn't have this cases too. I just forgot to put it. Look at that. Now we have an issue. Now it says today is undefined because it went through here. It checked for 0, it checked for 1, it checked for 3, it checked for 4, it checked for 5, it checked for 6. It wasn't equal to any of those, right? It was equal to a 2, but we don't have an example for 2 here. We don't have a case for 2 here. So when it got down here, day was never defined because day initially it was like started here, but it was no value put here. Never was initialized. So when something isn't initialized, it's undefined. Okay? So it's not initialized, and that's cool. It's okay not to initialize it early. That's fine. You don't always initialize things. But what the problem is you need to make sure that there's a default case. That's a very, very important part. You need to make sure there's a default case. So let's talk about what that looks like. First, the break keyword, it reaches we talked about this. This just means like I said, it's a built-in keyword, and it will stop the execution inside of the block. So anything inside of these brackets will get stopped. Okay, cool. This is a key point. If you omit the break statement, omit meaning if you do not put the break statement, if you don't have a break statement in here, if you don't have a break statement, it's going to check to see if, let's say, for example, say we did have this here, right here. It's going to come here and check to see if case is 2, which is true. It's going to say day is equal to Tuesday. If you don't have a break statement, it's going to continue testing. It's going to test cases 3. It's going to test this case. It's going to test this case. It's going to test this case. None of those are true either, but the problem is it's dragging your code along. It's dragging down your program. It's going to check more things that it shouldn't be checking. So your code isn't as efficient as it could be. Right. In this situation, it's really, really small. It's not a big deal. It's still going to be super quick. But if you had a bigger program, which you will have soon, with a lot of lines of code, a lot of logic, you're going to be like, you may see some dragging happen if you don't have a break statement there, because it's going to be literally checking every single one of those cases. So you definitely want to make sure you always add those break statements. And look, the next case will be executed even if the evaluation does not match the case. That's not good. All right. So the default keyword specifies the code to run if there's no case match. So here we go. This example, what they did is they're just trying to find if case is equal to 6 or if case is equal to 0. So they're pretty much trying to see if it falls on a weekend, like if it's Saturday or Sunday. Okay. So it checks to see if it's 6. If it's 6, text is equal to Saturday. If it's equal to 0, text is equal to Sunday. Okay. Now, worst case scenario, if neither one of those is true, you put this default text is equal to looking forward to the weekend, which is what we should see today because today is Tuesday. This is a little more cleaner than the if else when it comes to dates. Yeah, 100 for real. It really is. Yeah, definitely more clear, cleaner, straight to the point. And it kind of sucks too. I say that from my perspective because I don't use switch statements as much as I probably could. Every single time I need to do some type of condition, I'm so quick to write an if statement. So quick to write an if statement. So quick. So, yeah. Like this is going to also help me like started when I'm coding my projects or working on client stuff. Try to think like, hey, can I do a switch statement here instead? I just want to start seeing what will come out of it because I'm so quick to go to if else, so quick. And I think it's mainly because it's how you learn. They teach you if else first, so you get used to that, and that's how it was too. I didn't learn switch statements for a while, and once I finally did, it was just like, oh, this is just like if else. And I was just so used to if else, I just didn't even start integrating this into a lot of my code. So even now to this day, I just don't, I don't use it too much unless it's already there. So I work on projects where they already using, like the code is already there. So I just have to edit it or update it, whatever. And if it's a switch statement, I know how to handle it. I know what it is. So I know how to work around it. Um, So it's cool. So it's really important to know it still because you're going to come across it. And there's been situations too where I had to do it myself because it made way more sense to do it this way than an if else. So it's cool. I think if else's are definitely more powerful if you have more than one condition. So like if you're doing something like if text equals, or let's say if number less than 10 or number equal 20 or number not equal to 0 or something like that. So this is a good situation where you would use an if because no matter what, these are three different situations where you're going to execute the same code block, right? If you know there's going to be like the same code block for multiple different things, for multiple different conditions, yeah, use the if else. The switch is for if you know every single case is going to have a different block of code you need to execute, a different block. So this one you have to put today is Saturday. This one you have to put today is Sunday. So that's why switch is important. If it's just like, you know what, I only have one use case for this, so I can put it all here. If else can be a lot more dynamic. So this is something really good to keep in mind. The default case does not have to be the last case in a switch block, right? You can start off with it. I wouldn't suggest it, even though it's possible, right? I wouldn't suggest it mainly because you want to know, like, what are my cases first? Like, what are the cases going to be, right? If you do make it first, you have to make sure you add that break statement here, okay? Only one that does not need a break statement is the last statement in the switch statement. That's the only thing that does not need a break statement because you don't have to break out of a code block because it's by the end anyway. Cool. Now this is cool right here. I'm gonna go ahead and show you this example. This is what I wanted to build up to. So here what was happening is I'm not going to break this up. This is the same thing that we just had. It's going to get the day and it's going to check for it. So what's happening here is if you put these cases back to back or like right on top of each other, what you can say is if this is like a if this is like a this is pretty much like I'm gonna show you another way. This is the if else version of it. We have if oops. Say if day equals 4 or day equals 5. This is kind of like what I was just saying before with the if. This is the way to do it in the if else. So if it's either one of those, we can say, hey, soon it is the weekend. Soon it is weekend. So to do it in a switch statement, the way you would do it is you would say case 4, case 5, right next to each other. Because remember, if you don't have a break statement, it's going to go down and execute the next code block anyway. So if this evaluates to 4, if get day is 4, guess what? Either way it goes, it's going to evaluate and it's going to do the same thing for 4 and 5. So if it ends up being 4 or 5, it's going to come down here and do this code. And then it's going to break. If it's 0 or 6, it's going to come down here and do this. And then by default, it's just going to have this text. Okay? Straightforward. Let me know if you think that's pretty straightforward. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So this is, I want to show you guys something. This is what I mean by I'm teaching you guys some fundamentals, like some real universal fundamentals. This stuff that you learn now, you can go and take and you can learn, you can use it to learn other languages as well, right? So here is an example of how to do a switch statement, right, in Java. So right now we're doing JavaScript, right? But Java is very, very similar, right? So this is some code for Java. So don't worry about this. This is just how they create their functions and classes. This is a function in Java compared to in JavaScript, you just use the word function, right? But cool. Same thing right here. You initialize a variable. You initialize a variable, set the case, and here you go. So it's literally the same thing. You got a break statement. You got your default at the bottom. Literally the same thing. Really cool. Now that's Java right there. Here's another example and another programming language called C Sharp. C Sharp, same thing. You got a switch statement, you got your cases, and then you can do your code block. Cases 5, you do this. In cases 10, you do this. In cases 15, you do this. So it's really cool, guys. Like if you can get down these fundamentals with JavaScript, back end programming like Java and Python and C Sharp, Swift and Node.js, all of these things are going to be so much easier to attain, opposed to what a lot of people do. A lot of people jump straight into learning how to do back end programming. They jump straight into Java. They jump straight into C Sharp, and it can be kind of intimidating because you also have to learn a lot of other syntax around coding. Like this is so much. I'm giving an example. Right here, back at the Java thing, this is the meat of the code right here, right? This is what's just really calling the shots. This is the real stuff. However, if you look, like I said, around it, you also have to define the function, and to define the function, you have to have these keywords ahead of it, like public. Oh, I'm sorry if that's too small, too. Not that close. Okay, yeah, like public, static, void, main. This all I hated this when I first started Java. I'm like, what the heck is this? Public static. What does public mean? What does static mean? What does void mean? And over time, I found out what each one means, and I could teach you guys as well. But but it's just so much more setup right before you even get to the code, before you even get to what really matters. And then this is a class that's surrounding it. So um, the cool thing is once you get over to learning how to do Java or learning how to do C Sharp, you only have to learn this new syntax like that comes with the language. How to program and like the nuts and bolts of it, you'll already get. You already know how to declare a variable. You already learn about types like what's a string, what's a number, what's an object. You'll already know about switch statements and expressions and how to check for each case, how to give a variable a value, what's a break statement, semicolons, everything will already be there. So I'm setting you guys up so you already know how to do Java, how to do C Sharp. You'll just have to learn a new syntax that comes with that language, which will, which is more so like a couple of weeks of learning, opposed to starting from scratch, which will be like a few months. So I'm excited about that. Like once you guys start doing other languages, you're going to be like, oh, I'm picking this up pretty simple. I hope that's the case. But that's what worked for me for sure. And I only knew that because this is how I learned how to program. And I saw other people who were learning how to program alongside of me, and they did the opposite. They started from the back end and then went to the front end, and it was a much steeper learning curve. Much steeper learning curve. This is an important detail to note. So we don't see any equal signs, right? You know how with the if else, where is that at? Right here with the if statement, we see a double equal sign that lets us know we're trying to see if two things are equal. The same thing is happening down here. The same thing. We're checking to see if new date that get day is equal to 4. Like, are they equal to each other? But we're not using any equal signs. Instead, it's all hidden behind the scenes for us. But just so you know, they're not using 2 equal signs. Instead, they're using 3 equal signs. And what this means, I think I told you guys before, but just to go back over it, and I'll take some notes. The 2 equal signs, it's like a light comparison. Pretty much, it's like you can compare 2 strings or something like that. Whereas the 3 equal signs it's a lot more. It's a lot more strict. So with the 3 equal signs, they have to have the same type, right? So look at this example right here. X is equal to 0, but this 0 is as a string. So if you try to go down here and you say case 0, it's not going to work because this is a string and this is a number. So case is checking to see if it's the same value and the same type. The type meaning they both have to be numbers, or they both have to be strings, or they both have to be the same object. Okay. So that's just it's a small detail that may bite you in the butt later on. At first, you don't really have to think much about it. But one day you may be trying to compare 2 things, and you're like, why didn't that work? Like, these 2 things are equal, but really they don't have the same type as well. So this is a simple example. I'm sure you guys can just look at it and kind of figure out what needs to go here. All right. So what will we put right here in this first line? What goes on the first line? Okay, we got a couple answers here. A couple answers. I'll give a couple more people some time to answer. No, that's woof woof. Woof woof. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So yeah, Monica, you are correct. First line is a switch. This is where we start at. Good job. And then what's the next line? Yep. Good job, Samantha. Case. Yep. Nope, you don't need the zero, King. So case, so it'll be case banana. So literally we're checking to see in case it's banana, do this. And then right here we will put what? So remember that case zero was just we were checking to see if this expression was equal to zero, or if it's equal to six, or if it's equal to four. In this situation, is we're passed through some fruits and we want to see if it's banana. And then yes, like Monica said, let's check to see. Um, no, you good, King. Oops, I just execute that. Cool. So let's see. Submit the answer. Show the answer. Boom. Good job, guys. Okay, so what should I put inside of here? What should I put inside of here? Good job, Monica. Good job, Samantha. I agree with you guys. Let's see if they agree with us. But I forgot. We forgot something. Don't forget we need our colon. Okay. Here we go. We need our colon. That's very, very important. And that will be something that a lot of people will forget. So definitely keep that in mind. If you run into a problem and you're like, why the heck isn't my code running? If your homework is like, you feel like you're right there, but something isn't working, just always just try to zoom in and look at the small things. It's always the small things. So don't forget that colon. This is right default, but we definitely need that colon at the end. Okay. Yep, they are. Yeah, they're serious. Real serious. Okay, cool. So that's it. That's the lesson. That switch. That's what I wanted to talk about. I have a nice. coding exercise for homework that I'll get uploaded with the video here in a little bit. As soon as it downloads, and I get it uploaded back into the system. And yeah, I hope you guys have fun with that. We have tutoring on Thursday, so if you guys need any help, be sure to show up to the tutoring. And I just want to keep this thing going because we're about to get into our first project. Really excited about that. So I'm also going to be posting some cool tools videos, which comes with the mastery membership, of course, and show you guys how to do some other cool things like GitHub and some command line stuff. So that way we can really start moving in the direction of building these projects. So really excited about that. Any other questions before we end this thing and I can get this video downloaded and uploaded into the system?